Scene 1. The planning begins. In the depths of Boston, a group of men met in secret, their faces masked in shadows. They were led by the mastermind, a man known as Tony. Plans for the biggest heist in American history were set in motion. The Brinks Armored Car Depot, home to millions, was their target. Scene 2. The Inside Man. Tony recruited an insider, an employee of Brinks named Joe. Joe knew the ins and outs of the vault, from the security systems to the daily routines. He was a man with a reputation for being meticulous, and Tony trusted him implicitly. Joe's role was simple: disable the security systems. Scene 3. Gathering the crew. Tony carefully handpicked each member of the crew, ensuring that no one knew too much. Each was an expert in their field, from safecrackers to getaway drivers, and even a lock expert. They met in a rented garage far from prying eyes. The crew had a strict rule: never talk about the job outside. Scene 4. The stakeout. For weeks, the crew watched the Brinks Depot from afar, observing security patterns, guard rotations, and truck movements. They learned the exact times when the depot was busiest and when it was most vulnerable. Tony, always the planner, made detailed notes. They were ready. Scene 5. The night of the heist. The night had arrived, the culmination of months of planning. The team gathered at a warehouse on the outskirts of Boston. Their faces were masked, and their hearts raced with anticipation. Mike checked his tools, Vince went over the escape route one last time, and Tony gave a final briefing. Scene 6. Entering the depot. Under the cover of darkness, the team arrived at the Brinks Depot. Joe had unlocked a side door, allowing them to slip inside unnoticed. The quiet hum of machinery was the only sound as they navigated the narrow corridors. They knew the layout well, and each step was taken with confidence. Scene 7. Cracking the vault. Mike set to work on the vault, his hands steady despite the pressure. The safe was a masterpiece of security, with advanced locking systems that had stumped many before. But Mike was an expert, and this was his time to shine. With every twist and turn, he grew more focused. Scene 8. Somehow the vault door opened, revealing stacks of cash, gold, and jewelry. It was more than anyone had ever imagined. The crew's eyes widened at the sight, but they didn't lose focus. They quickly began loading the money into bags. Joe, the inside man, kept watch for any approaching guards or police. Scene 9. The alarm goes off. Just as they were about to finish loading the bags, an unexpected sound pierced the air. The alarm. Someone had triggered it. Panic spread like wildfire. Tony cursed under his breath, but he didn't lose control. The team had planned for this. Vince rushed to the exit, his eyes darting nervously. Scene 10. The escape plan. Vince started the engine of the getaway car, a nondescript van parked nearby. The team sprinted toward it, bags of cash in hand. The plan was simple: disappear into the night. They would take a series of back roads, switching vehicles along the way. It was a perfect route designed to evade detection. Scene 11. The police response. Within minutes of the alarm, the police were on high alert. Sirens screamed through the city streets as cruisers raced to the Brinks Depot. Officers swarmed the area, but they were too late. The crew had already made their escape. The heist had been flawless, almost too flawless. Scene 12. The hideout. At a remote location, the crew took refuge in a rundown house, well away from any prying eyes. The adrenaline of the heist slowly began to wear off, replaced by exhaustion. Tony gathered the crew in a circle, their faces still masked. The bags of money were spread out on the floor. Scene 13. The double cross. As the days passed, the crew started to unravel. Tensions ran high, and whispers of betrayal floated through the air. Tony had always trusted his team, but now doubt crept in. It wasn't long before he noticed some of the men acting strangely. Rumors spread that Mike had started making deals. Scene 14. The FBI moves in. Meanwhile, the FBI was piecing together the clues. They had no solid leads, but they had a hunch. Joe, the inside man, was under investigation. His history with Brinks was scrutinized. Every move he made was tracked. The authorities began to piece together the timeline of the heist. Scene 15, the tipping point. The first crack in the crew's tight-knit operation came when Joe, the inside man, started acting erratically. He had been nervous from the start, but now he was visibly sweating. It wasn't long before he made a critical mistake. He attempted to launder some of the stolen money. Scene 16, the informant. Joe cracked under pressure. Facing mounting evidence, he made a deal with the authorities. In exchange for a reduced sentence, he provided information about the crew's identities and whereabouts. The FBI, now armed with this inside information, began making arrests. Scene 17, the chase for Tony. Tony knew the walls were closing in. He had been in the shadows, watching as his crew members fell. The FBI was hunting him down with increasing urgency, but Tony had always been one step ahead. He moved swiftly, changing locations and using aliases. He knew how to cover his tracks. If you like it, please like and subscribe to the channel to receive all that is new.